are here. How's it going, everybody? We had a little bit of a change up because I got to deal with being a free StreamYard guy, and so we are here. How's it going, everybody? We had a little bit of a change up. I got his mute. Being a free StreamYard guy, and so we just thing. You on your side, Scott. You've got your audio monitor.
Yeah, I've got to mute one of these here. Hang on, just give me a minute.
Hang on 1 second, folks. Scott's not accustomed to live streaming. The only person he's ever done it with.
Hang on, just give me a minute.
Hang on 1 second, folks. We'll give him a second.
There we go. That should do it.
Excelente. So, hi, everybody.
Yeah.
This is Scott Carlson of Northern Paganism. If you're a long-time listener of my channel, which includes going so far back as prior channels, because I committed digital seppuku at one point, and then I got canceled at another point. And but before I got canceled, I had an archive of me and Scott's conversation, and I re-uploaded my conversation with Scott when I made this one. So you guys have seen it. It's got the Ursa Major, Ursa Minor thumbnail on it. And I'm keeping prompts with that, with the Mighty Bear as the return of Scott Carlson. So he's published a series of books in under Northern Paganism. The two books of his that I have read are Exposing Abraham and the Runes. That did a whole lot for helping me like straighten out a lot of ideas about how we originally were a kind of polar based kind of sky mythos, the astro mythology of it, which was it was something that if you guys are listening to Symbolic Studies with Mario Garza, I made sure he got onto Scott's book to work out all of that stuff. He did a really awesome video talking about the Arctic Circle in correspondence to the origins of Midgard, and it was really great because people know that I dove deep without getting into the heavy literature, but all the stuff out there on YouTube for the Bach saga, the Vainamoinen mythology from Finland, retold by Eeyore Bach, talks about Udenma and the original hell that was Helsinki, according to the saga and some correspondences that are in the language and everything else. And there is an ancient map of what used to be this Udenma area around the North Pole, and correspondences with Santa Claus, which is also very similar to some stuff you talked about the expression of Thor in Santa, which I always thought was fun and wild and made me laugh the last time I watched that movie with Goldberg playing Santa. I said, "It's right there. It's right effing there. He's just Thor pissed off at everybody." But yeah, so you went on a bit of an utaseta, right? You sat out on at least YouTube digitally. You went through a nutrition program you were building for yourself, and you were also doing some home videos. I hadn't caught up with. Apologies, and just let us know what's been cooking these several years. My heels. Oh, and let me give you a Galder horn to sound it off.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
That was good. That was really good. It's been a minute since I've used mine, so I can imagine what it would sound like, But no, what I have been doing is I've been very busy, working full time, and I ended up going back to get my college degree, which I'm almost done with. But it was something I started before I went in the military, and then I had my career, which dominated a lot of my time. After that, just between work and school, I really didn't have a lot of time to do much any other reading, let alone writing. So I had to just hit the pause button on something. I was getting pulled in too many different directions, had very little time to myself. And so what I've done recently, which has allowed me to get back into things, is I've stopped taking classes full time. I've reduced it to a part-time status for classes. And that allows me to have a much more time to do some reading, to go back through the book. I have another book that is practically written. I just want to proofread it, check some of my translations, make sure I didn't, put a letter in the wrong spot. And what I did with that book that will be hopefully coming out soon is I reduced it in size, because a lot of the books that I have already out there, the content in them was originally in the other ones. And I didn't want to make it too pulled in many directions. And so I wanted to get like Exposing Abraham, and I wanted to get all these other elements, the Sword of Glory, Baba Yaga. I wanted to get all that out there, Choices and Growth, because I did throw a lot into the mix of what the religious cults of Abraham have done to our belief system. And now this next book is going to focus much more on just our belief system and what that Old Norse Poetic Edda actually says and what it relates to us without all the other added in. So that's my next step. Is I'm going to pull that original book up. I'm going to take out all of those other add-ins of the books I already have published, and then I'm going to come out with the other one, which is just going to be Northern Paganism. And I haven't really finished what the title on that would be, but I've got a lot of things in there from Yggdrasil to the Mother Goddess Freya and her etymology, her name etymology, the name etymology of Odin. And I really deep dive into what our lore, what our ancestors were really trying to convey to us with not only the cycles of nature and the cosmic movements, but even moon cycles are brought into it. So it's very deep. I throw a lot of graphics in there, probably throw a little bit more in there, a lot of historical artifacts. And I've got to, what do they call it? Self-edit, where I limit myself because sometimes I can get way ahead of myself. So, but that's what I've been doing. And I hope to finalize that book soon. So.
That's that's exciting. Did you find new incredible revelations in some of the astro mythology in the process of that, or things that are really building upon prior works in a big way?
Some of it builds upon it, yes, and it does throw into light some of the things like what you mentioned with Thor being Santa Claus. With where the Bible says that the earth is flat. And a lot of times, some people are going back to that whole flat earth theology now, or whatever you want to call it. But our lore, our ancestors knew that the world was not flat. They called it the Balayokel when up north, above that Tega biome, was called the Balayokel, which means the frozen ball. And so they knew it was round. They knew they were navigators of the sea. They were navigators of the land. They knew the cosmic movements, the cycles of nature. And a lot of this was used in relaying that information because it's something that doesn't change. And it can be passed down using those cycles of strength to posterity. And our children can always relate back to these stories using nature and using cosmic movements. It's something that never changes. You don't have to worry about somebody altering an eye to mean something different. And so, I really include a lot of that in the next book. So,
I find it interesting. There is one place that I've seen in the Eddas where the mythology almost suggests that at least in the mythological 9 realms, that it might be flat in Alvasmal, the lay of Alvis, Thor and Alvis having their battle of wits before sunrise. And one of the riddle questions was about what is the sea or something like that. And he said that a particular race said that the sea is an endless plain, right? And the flat earthers like to almost think that, we're in the petri dish where the sun hangs out, localized, and then it's the endless ice to the next petri dish where the aliens are hanging out, right? And that's typically the flat earthers cosmological consensus on things. And so I sat there and I said, this is the only place that gives us a hint as to what mythologically the shape of the world is said to be, which is nothing to do with what we materialistically in actuality thought literally the world was to be, such as what you said, the ice ball.
Yep. And as far as and I've conveyed this in some of my other videos, that our ancestors in teaching what our belief system was, they used the heavenly sea, the cosmos, as just that. It was water, an endless realm of water, and as these cycles, like Thor. I was just talking to my son about this, where Thor is said to be too big to walk upon the Osbru, the god of the bridge of the gods, and so he had to wade the sea on a daily basis. Okay. Well, if you look at even the sky charts that I include in my videos, the hero hunter that we now call Orion, but it's the hero hunter. It's the war. That depiction in the cosmos. The Milky Way has been mistranslated by Snorre Sturluson as being the Bifrost Bridge. And I put this in the introduction to Exposing Abraham, that it's actually the Bilrasbru. And what that means is Bil means movement. It's in Swedish, it's car. It actually literally translates to car, but it means movement, and like a race, like a physical race movement. And rust means it's a rapid, like a rushing movement. So when we look at the Bilrasbru, and you know that movement happens across that heavenly sea, that the bridge is the Milky Way, and the hero hunter in that cosmos depiction is always off the bridge, and so he must wade the sea every day. And that, when you, like I said, you have to take away the corruption that Christianity has added to our lore, intentionally so. And I even put that in one of the last videos, that they intentionally eliminated things like reincarnation, our posterity being us, that valiant spirit passed down from us through ancestral lines into our children, who will then carry those things forward and continue to pass that down in an unending lineage of folkish paganism. So that movement that never goes away is indicative of the valiant spirit that never goes away, like Brynhild conveyed to Sigurd. It will never die. So as long as we continue to pass that valiant spirit on along folkish lines, that valiant spirit will never die.
I'm curious. Do you know if there's a spot in the sky, which I'm assuming it may involve like Cetus or something? Like, what is the myth about with Thor and Tyr going to the great like chasm to bring back the great, I think it was like the Great Cauldron? This is where he beats up Jormungandr.
Okay. I'll feed there for a second. Hang on, I'm glitching. So yeah. Well, I mean, if you can relate that to the cosmos, okay. In Grimnismal, Thor puts on the dark blue mantle. Okay, and then as he passes through the fires, that dark blue mantle gets seared to him, so he's permanently got it on. And if you look at that compared to Tyr is from where we get Tuesday, and it's also linked to diurnal. So you have a one element of being Odin with a dark blue mantle, nighttime, and you have the other element being Tyr, diurnal, with the daytime. And they both go to what was it, the mouth of the cave to get back the cauldron. And if you look at where in autumn, okay, where is the cauldron of the Great Bear? But all the way on the Thulian seat, which would be the mouth of the cave, to bring back the cauldron. And so then both day and night work to bring that cauldron back to rebirth. Did I explain that good enough? Or
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's a big tug of war for the for the seasonal cycles. It's another conveyance for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's always married to northern nature. It's not, you can look at just one of them and say, yep, this is what it is. But then you can also look at nature, and when you marry the two together, then you have northern cosmic movements in unison with northern nature. And once you realize that and you tie it to the veneration our ancestors had from our bear, I think the last video we did, I even mentioned the one book that really kind of threw the doors wide open, and it's sitting back here on my what is it called? The Bear. It's just called The Bear, written by a French author. And he goes through and he shows cave paintings in France, where the French government is actually, at the time they weren't anyways, they weren't doing anything to protect these very old cave paintings. They were just letting them disintegrate. And different people were trying to protect them to get the government to help. And the things that were in these caves, where the bear was the central figure, and you had the bear would go in there and leave claw marks on the cave walls, and then our ancestors would go in there and leave handprints over the top of the claw marks. So, and it really opened the door for me, and or should I say, nailed the door open for me about the veneration our ancestors had for the bear, and how when you apply that to cosmic movements and the movements in nature of the cyclical movements of our bear, the 3 cycles of our bear, the bear is seen as a symbol of strength. And what was that other book? I can't remember what the name of it. It's it'll pop into my mind later. I don't want to have too much dead time here.
No worries.
Bear ceremonialism is what it was called. Bear ceremonialism. And it was, I found it on PDF. It's like to buy the book, it's a few $100s. And it goes and these names of the bear, and they can be seen actually in our lore as well. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It's good. Like, as long as you're giving people information, it's like, terms and things like that for people to look up and be able to take it somewhere. That's always great. I've had a lot of the Carpathian forest in my mind. When it comes to European history, I was wondering, what have you learned about the earliest Carpathian lore that you know?
I have not done any research into any of that, to be honest with you. And
I was not, to be fair,
the pause button was pretty much hit for me.
Was in a scope, okay? Right. So don't feel put on the spot there.
What's that again?
If that was your wheelhouse. But just with the things throw a couple things out there. And by the way, I almost forgot. I also wanted to drink to your good health, sir. I try to keep meat on me at all times.
Okay.
I
have to make another batch of it, actually. Yeah.
It's the best goddamn meat. I swear to God, this is the best.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. So The influences of Christianity has been one interesting thing about it, and it brings in so much with what Christians took to Hebrew. There's also been a lot of Jews in Europe too. Naturally, with Christians that are either favorable to them or against them, depending on what kind of Jews and things like that. Because we know about we know a lot of the Christian influence. What about Jewish influence that you have found in the hijacking stuff that only kind of sticks with an Old Testament kind of misdirect?
Well, I think what the Christians were doing at the time when they invented their belief system was more directed toward subverting what our actual Lord taught, because they were trying to create a world religion, one world government, one world religion. And in order to do that, they subverted what our belief systems actually were. They corrupted everything about it. They couldn't completely heal it, or hide it, so they incorporated it into what theirs. Which is why their Easter and Christmas and all that kind of stuff has pagan origins. But now that so much time has passed by, that people are in denial that now it's authentically Christian. So, and when they were doing that, predominantly the church that was in charge was Roman Catholic, the Catholic Church. And we see what's happening now in politics, that the Catholic Church is returning to be against the whole Zionist type mindset. So they were then as well. And there's a lot of writings that say, you can even go back to some of the Grimm fairy tales and see where the different things are in there. The writings of Macbeth, where they boiled with the one poem with the liver. I think it was the liver of a Jew or something like that. So you had to throw into the pot and make it boil. But so as far as influences directly from the Old Testament, the only thing I would say there is that I don't think it influenced our belief system as much as what Christianity did. I don't even think Islam is pretty much, I don't want to be overly rude to other people's beliefs other than what I already have, which is pretty immense. But that bridge is burnt. That bridge is burnt. Yeah. I view Islam as the bastardization between Judaism and Christianity. It's the latecomer to the party, and they acknowledge Jesus. But they just say he's a prophet instead of the Messiah. The Jews don't even acknowledge him as whatever, a Christ or a Savior, and but the Christians, admittedly so, in some of their old writings, which is what I showed in one of my previous videos, had to turn our belief system upside down so that they could subjugate everyone to them and the king that they anointed. So, and it's very important to understand that if the church didn't anoint the king, then the king wouldn't stand a chance. And so this was an unholy matrimony, if you will, between the two to take over a seat of power, where from our ancestors who didn't have a control in the conglomerate, if you will. You know what I mean? They were tribal, they were clannish, and but Christianity was, now depending on who you talk to, some people will say, well, Christianity did that so that they would be a unified power against the Jew or against the Muslim. So I do not give that mindset really any credit, because it just seems too far out there. It's almost like the flat earth one. It's like, what are you grasping at?
Right. I think because a big reason why I ask is that like I think that there's a lot of distinct confusion because basically everything that has been pre like Abrahamism, if you will, is kind of been lumped into pagan, but also like kind of the way traditional Judaism is, it kind of like says that it's pagan, right? You know, because it goes pre-Christian, right?
Right.
So, but because I've made a couple of things about my feelings, my kind of my intuitional conclusions, knowing what I know about things is that like we're just kind of pagan means something in particular, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with a religion. And this is a religion versus what was the tribal animism. And but then, of course, sometime after the Bronze Age, things got a little bit different. We were less animistic, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes I wonder if there was a confusion in that regards because of perhaps just corrupting influence from Rome in the area.
Right. Yeah.
Different
Mhm.
thinkings about things, different thinkings about what that like if you were a pagan and you met like a Jew or something like that, you may not have thought anything different, not knowing what they were from what your beliefs were, right? Because like if you didn't know many other gods, you'd seem as henotheistic as
Mhm.
as they were with being like, oh, we worship like one god or one god in his family, right?
Right. Right. Well, I mean, even if you read the Old Testament, which unfortunately I have read it multiple times, but even if you read that Old Testament, you can see that at one point they were polytheistic, and I have spoken with Jews who acknowledge that at one time ancient Jews were polytheistic, and
Yeah.
when you read like with Solomon how he would go back into the groves, okay, and Astarte and Ashtoreth and stuff like this. The Bible acknowledges a goddess. The Bible acknowledges other gods. They just what they do is they throw a small g on it and say it's not as important as our capital G God. But
Right.
when you go back to the original Hebrew, it's all written in lowercase. And when you look at like the story of in Genesis of the creation story, all of Genesis 1 is all every time you see the word God in there, capital G, is it's Elohim, which is a plural word that means
Right.
gods and goddesses. Or, so it's
Yeah.
and so it's when it was written in English to drive down the throats of people, it was changed into, well, this is now the name of our deity, as not what it is, which is a plural word, gods or goddesses. So it gives definite credence to there being
Right.
multiple gods and goddesses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would our pagan ancestors have seen people who from the lands of of the Bible, would they have had something in common with maybe what if their belief system was based on nature, animals, cosmic movements? Then yes, what it is now, I think it's as foreign. It would be as foreign to them now as what Christianity was when they came in and were trying to
Right.
take over and manipulate everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because God, God was not the word that they were using, that not just phonetically in the Old Testament or even in the New Testament. Like God is that's a European word. It's God is good.
Yes.
It's also it's the Goths
Yep.
and
In German.
goat goat, right? And then the Christian freaks out about goat worshipers.
Yeah.
And you worship the Lamb of God and you call it the old Germanic name for goat. you are worshiping a goat.
Mhm.
You hypocrites, right? Like that's been one of the funniest revelations to me in effing forever as a non-Satanist.
Yeah. But if you look up, and here's a funny thing, look up the early depictions of Moses, and early depictions of Moses, he had horns. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I in an online conversation with one of my videos, I think it was over on TikTok, I think is where it was, because I'm trying to expand out a little bit. I said that to somebody, and they weren't pleased, but their ignorance doesn't mean I'm wrong. It means they're ignorant.
Yeah, there's the old statues, and then there's one or two verses in the Old Testament that explain that he had some sort of nodules or whatever on his head, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Scott, like when I lost the weight, right? It's the freakiest thing that it looked like to me was, I was staring at my forehead, and I'm looking at it at a certain angle, and I'm just like, what? And I start rubbing right there. You see, right here, Scott, this bumps out slightly right here above my goddamn temple, where if I were a goat, that's where my horn would grow out. And then I learned in astrology that if you're born under a horned god sign or a horned sign, like I am, I'm an Aries, that you get that in your physiognomy. So look at that. I do look like a goat, and people like to insult me all the time and call me Jesus. Because I'm a Norman and I look like the Shroud of Turin, which apparently was a statue now, as I understand it.
Yeah. You know, I never put those together until just now. So that's so, but yeah, I mean, and going back to cosmology with the Great Bear, with Ursa Major, it's got two cigar galaxies that protrude from its forehead, M81 and M82, and we put that in, I think it was in Exposing Abraham, about the mark of the beast, and how a lot of people just say 666 is the mark of the beast. And it's again, that is a corruption, what the mark of the beast is. And the Nag Hammadi text really unlocked what that mark of the beast was, because it's the mark of Cain. And it's, when they call it mark of the beast that they're referring to is the bear. And when you look at the summertime hero, the one without the weapon, which would be during the time frame cosmologically as summertime, when it would be Mother Goddess's time. So if you divide the year in half, you have Mother Goddess's time, you have Odin's time, and then you have the overlap being spring and fall. So the mark on that figure's hand, that summertime hero's hand, which is, I believe, Hercules, as what we call it today, he's holding his hand in the form of a V. Okay. Then when you look at the right foot of the constellation of the bear and the forehead of the bear, they're all in that same mark of the V, and that mark is the 666 mark. It's the three different places. And I explain it more thoroughly in Exposing Abraham, and I even draw circles to where you should be looking with the Bible passages in there to show you this is where it's going to be, on the mark on the right hand, on the forehead, and I put the Nag Hammadi words in there as well. So it is the mark of Cain. What did Cain and Abel are in the Bible? Cain brought vegetables, and Abel brought the blood offering. And the vegetables, they're a summertime thing. The blood offering is a wintertime thing. If we look at just the cycles of the year of when things grow, that's when the figures are in play. So even in that story, you have Cain slew Abel. What does that mean? That means the hunter rotated out of view. That's all it is. It's a story showing that the summertime hero rotated in and killed the wintertime hero. it. So and around full circle, then they don't say it in their story, but it's you know, what's that?
Oh no. That's not only great. I did also. I also wanted to ask because your just because your connection was jumpy, and I want to make sure I didn't miss something. So I'm going to ask. So I'm assuming you mean Orion the Hunter then represents Cain. Right? I'm sorry,
No.
Abel. With
Yes, right, because he's the hunter. Right,
Gotcha.
he was the hunter that brought the blood offering.
All right,
And
so
now,
does that mean Abel is another constellation that's prominent in the summer?
I think Abel in that story is the constellation that would be Hercules.
Okay.
And it's the dancing, what I call the dancing little figure in the summertime sky. That is the here. Let's see. I got one of my books right here. I could probably pull it up on screen.
Well, I mean that kind of follows because Hercules kills his family, which puts him on the path to go through the trials.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I can see how that works. Yeah.
You can take any Bible story and you can say, well, there it is in the stars. That's all they did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And like, because one thing I hope for is like I've been big on one of the other sides of my work on trying to understand not just what was there in Sumer as we know it in history with Mesopotamia and Babylon and all that stuff, but what was there before, like when it all started, before there were Anunnaki, because there are people there are tribes there. Then these people showed up into the real world and said, we're your sky gods, right? And I think that's where all of the trouble started, right? And so there needs to be a restoration in order to reconcile what are these people adhered to these beliefs that are, we're all killing each other and we're all degrading our past and we're all fearing the most out of what our independent moralities are, so on and so forth, right? And that's been a big part of some of my thoughts on the matter, is that it gets so confusing because there is a pure pagan root that people had that got taken from them and ever so slightly changed to be religious, and then it kept getting corrupted from there. And that's my hypothesis of how things got started.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just throwing that at you from the back and forth.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I wanted to connect the dots on too with the God of the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, because it's only in recent times that the God of the Bible has turned into be a God of love, and that's because they killed everybody, up to this point where they don't have anybody really. They're still doing it. They're still going over and doing bloodshed in other lands. So, and I'm going to relate this back to that whole Cain and Abel story, because the blood offering is what was accepted by the God of the Bible. Okay, now I know, and I say this in all my videos. I'm going to say it again here. I know that the God of the Bible is fake. It's an invention. It's a fraud that was thrust upon our pagan ancestors as a reality. So when I talk about these things, I don't talk about them as a reality, but I talk about them as being real in the minds of the followers, because the God of the Bible accepted the blood offering and always demanded a blood offering from his followers. And what we see and what we saw even with early Catholic Church as they were forced converting our ancestors was bloodshed. All the time, bloodshed. And under these three Abrahamic cults, that is what we always have had, is blood offered on the altar of Abraham for the appeasement of their God in their mind. Their God demands blood. And the Christian world gives it to them. And it's giving it to them again now. It's intrinsic system, whereas there was a time for blood, and that was the time for survival, when you had to in blood month, the end of the year, sow and that is where you had to do herds so that you would survive through the winter time. When you got back around to red month, which was around the time of Osteri, what Christians call Easter, that red month, or what is it called? Roth Manad is what they call it. Red month that was the end of bloodshed. That was when things were reborn. Valiancy was reborn, and our ancestors, whether you want to say that there are many gods and many goddesses, or you have one divine masculine and one divine feminine that goes off of many names, is really, to me, it's a personal choice. But I err on the side of not wanting to insult any of our ancestral belief systems, and so I recognize them as many gods and goddesses, which to me does not insult anything, because if it is one feminine divinity that's going off of multiple names, by calling them or referring to them as multiple beings, I'm just recognizing the different phases that they're in. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah. Me, my personal experience, because I've, my path, like I could say that in my personal experience in ways that can't be like proven in any way, shape, or form. It's just my personal experience. I've had encounter with Odin and Thor, Freya, Loki. Not a terrible encounter with Loki, as one would expect. Anubis came to me in a fucking dream, right? Like I cannot even begin to say all the male deities I came across were like expressions of the same male deity. Each one has a domain, an attitude, a purpose. I can't just be exactly the same, treat each one of them exactly the same. When I met Anpu in my dream, all I did was nod my head and take like half a step backwards just to take in what I was experiencing dream-wise. And out of that, he sicks the dog on me. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's my old man in the background. Don't mind him. Right.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see somebody on here commented. I'd like to maybe just I'm kind of wondering, but when
Scott, Scott, you're cutting out hard.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It's storming here on and off, so maybe might be a little bit weak.
Oh, okay. Maybe it'll hold together. Yeah. But it was just pretty bad at the moment. Are we back? I hear you. Your
okay.
Your screen's still kind of frozen. Your audio might be okay.
Okay, good. So, when we study polytheism and polytheology, it is. I'd like to delve into what he means by that, but maybe he can comment more on there if he's still watching, because
oh, okay. Oh, all right. Scott just cut out. I'm assuming that I'm still live on my end. I don't know if I'm still live on Scott's channel. Hi, everybody. We're gonna give this a second, and I am going to see if I can connect with Scott. Let me see if it's still going on his channel. Oh, excuse me. Yes, it is. Gosh, that was a rude burp. All right. I don't have to. All right. Because whatever just happened, I'm sure he has to reset his system unless he just had the power go out. In which case I would end up closing the stream or something. Right. So let me see if I can get a hold of him. Hey, how much time you need? All right, let's see here. He said something about it was storming, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a difficult time. Okay.
Okay.
It's storming.
Oh. Okay. Maybe it'll hold together. But it was just pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to there. I muted my other feed here again. I don't know what's going on. There we go. All right, I got us both. So
okay. Yeah, we're still going. The stream kept going, and I did a little song dance while you were gone. Everybody was very entertained. They clapped.
Okay, good. All right. I'm sorry I missed that. So, but what I was going to say is what our ancestors taught through all of these different cycles of nature, of the cosmos, of the moon, is strength. And that's one thing that when Christianity came in, they forced our ancestors to convert. And it doesn't always have to be by physical force. It can be by coercion through starvation. You know, you go into a king, like this is how Sweden was converted in 1200, is a Christian empire had all the lands up to, they were the last ones to convert in the old world. And they came in and they said, we will starve you. We will not trade food unless you convert and become a Christian nation. If you do so, then your country will survive and you will remain the king of it. So there's other means of force than just at the point of a spear, which they did that a lot. But that conversion was to get them to subjugate to their religion, to their false foreign god, and to the king that they put in place with no questions asked, because according to Christianity, back then, the king could do no wrong. The king could not sin no matter what they did. They were given a free pass. So when you juxtapose that to what our belief system was, what our ancestors taught through all these different cycles was strength and valiancy and the passing on of those characteristics to our children, our children's children, right, and through time. And so there's a big disparity. And I have Christians tell me all the time that if they're wrong, nothing happens. But if I'm wrong, then I have eternal payment. Okay.
Oh yeah. Pascal's wager. That was all the talk of the town a few months ago when Scott Adams died, because Scott Adams converted to Christianity on his deathbed on Pascal's wager.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been talking about that. That's the thing. So, okay. So
what my answer to that is
then, when the European monarchies became Christianized, they probably put a stop to a member of the inner court of strength from stepping forward to say, I'm going to kick your ass until you fucking get off the throne. Right? Like they probably just put a stop to that.
with coming into the pagan areas. Oh yeah. They would continue to apply pressure until either that king was overthrown or the king was killed or acquiesced to their power.
Right. No, but what I mean, once it was Christianized, they're trying to get away from this rule of strength, which was part of an important aspect of pagan integrity, of any kingdom's integrity, which is why the pagans did it, is a better way to say it, right? See, like, because I learned double checking into everything, asking myself what's what, that for the most part, our idea of the blood sacrifices and the human sacrifices was mostly, especially the human sacrifice, was mostly no different than what we do with death penalty. It's all just basically
100%
death penalty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now,
So very few people just qualified for it. I mean, maybe an unfortunate slave, like we saw in the Northman movie, which was based on Ibn Fadlan's funerary witnessing. So we can say that, unfortunately, if you're a slave and it's slave economics and other issues, I'm not going to go there because I don't condone slavery, even though we probably still need to have a thrall class in society. I can kind of consider myself in that class, and I'm okay. But yeah. It's just that, like, this is one of the exciting reasons why I wanted to talk to you is I love trying to get that dissection. You really help with that in clarifying, what was pagan, what was Christian, what was something you have to think about what our ancestors did that maybe was not so good, but you didn't throw away everything about us, and then vice versa, right? These are the most important things, because people are wrongly afraid of just, like, whether they're a Christian or not, like, having any kind of pagan mindsets in many regards, right? I mean, I think it's mostly a problem for the fundamentalists, but it's also an important general lesson for the more secular Christians, right? Because fundamentalists are a whole other effing conversation versus a lot of other people you meet that go to different churches.
Right. And just to you touched on a few things. I hope I can remember them all.
I have that.
Yeah. What was okay? I'm gonna go on to the human sacrifices thing, and maybe the other things will get re-triggered into my mind here. There's a humans, like you said, you equated it to what we have as a death penalty now. And I agree with that, because the death penalty is for those that even incarceration would not help. The crime was so egregious that they deserve to be put to death. These would be, now, there's a lot of pagans out there, and they falsely claim that every year there were nine people were offered up as human sacrifices. I think they get it from Hollywood, to be honest with you. But if there was that many,
if they were clever to use 9, they know that's our holy number.
Yes. Yep. And if that many people were offered up in human sacrifices over hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years, there would be so much evidence of these human sacrifices. And they'll say, well, they're bog bodies. Well, no, they're not bog bodies, because there's not that many bog bodies. And
the whole point of a bog body is that you don't decompose. Your evidence is always there because we're punishing your spirit by keeping it encased in hell.
Right.
Probably because you were Jeffrey fucking Epstein.
Yeah, I know. You really want to go there right now?
There's a bog with his name on it, and I'm carving it out. We're not going there. I'm just making a joke because it's 2026.
Yeah. But the practice of executing war criminals, if you attacked and then you deserve to die, then is that a human sacrifice to kill a war criminal? Or if a leader so abundantly does things to the people that they're supposed to be in charge of, that they have a negative effect, they see a decrease in strength of their people, then that person would be sacrificed. And a lot of times that person would sacrifice themselves because they'd realize what a failure they were. So there is a misnomer out there that there are these human sacrifices associated with the pagan belief system. And to another point about something we were talking about with the incorporation of pagan days, some of these days were so intrinsic to who we were. The Yule cycles of both the summer and the winter, the blood month of Ostri, in that season, and I'm sorry, blood month was Samhain, the red month being in Ostri. These were so intrinsic to who we were as a people that the church had to incorporate them. Otherwise, the only way they would convert people is by killing them. And
that's right. Oh, you froze. Let's give Scott a second. All right. Hey, Scott, you're frozen. I don't hear you. You're frozen. I'm going to see if he's frozen over there or if he's just frozen for me. Am I rudely speaking over him right now? No, yeah, he's definitely frozen. Okay. Hang on. So he probably can't hear that. If he can see the private chat. Okay, there he goes. All right. So he probably had a little bit of a timeout. So let's give him a minute to get back in place. He was getting into some beautifully salient points that those have definitely echoed many an agreed sentiment from all of my study and understanding of things, right? Some things are really innocent in their dramatizations of aspects of brutality because we're capable of brutality. Everybody is. We also understand how capable brutality people that believe in an all-loving God under a religion of love can be.
themselves because they realize what a failure they were. So,
all right, excellent.
A misnomer out there that there are these.
Just waiting on your audio there.
I think I'm back. You there?
Yes, yes. I was just letting the audience know how much I was agreeing with everything you were saying and paraphrases many things I've said on my channel before. So jumping back into the human sacrifice, go for it.
Yeah, I don't know where I got caught. That's something that neo-paganism is putting out, and I think it's done by the people who are getting their information from Hollywood. That they encourage this learning, and where their entire world is wrapped around dressing up and playing Viking, and so therefore that Hollywood definitely feeds that mindset, and it creates something that our ancestors would not have recognized. It is not folkish, and it is something new, and it is not pagan. And
right,
that I just want to say very quickly here. Let me. There's two things that I'm going to add something to my screen here. One is tacitus.
Yeah. I have an understanding of what that's like. I quickly, early on, realized I wasn't going to have the same kind of meaningful connective relationship with a lot of guys involved in that scene. It means something different to them, and the Hollywoodification. It's very much the Disneyfication, because who's the official name in understanding the Norse language that Disney goes to, which thus is Hollywood? Dr. Jackson Crawford. I have the copy of his fucking translation of like the Havamal, the Eddas or whatever. I'm like, what? Like, I read the Chris Home version from like 1916. I like it. It's got that old English flair to it. It's poetically beautiful. It tries to make everything work with what is said in the Old Norse right next to it. Dr. Crawford, I don't know where the hell he fucking condenses these freaking terms in Old Norse into like these very short terms for the poem, and then it doesn't even sound poetically like beautiful. I'm like, what is this? He really pisses me the fuck
I
off.
I do not subscribe. I do not subscribe to him, and I think he gets his. I don't know him personally, so
right. Everybody knows I got a beef with him. I ripped apart his review of The Northman.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it as I don't subscribe to him.
Sure. I'm not trying to haul shit, but like we are, like it's a because we're talking about the language, we're talking about what people know. I'm a little bit more of that guy who wants to be controversial. Let me not bring that to you.
Okay. No, I can't, for whatever reason, it is not letting me load what I wanted to put on the screen. So let me take a second here and read it. It's just a quick little blurb.
Please.
It's from Tacitus Germania. Okay. And this is a quote from that book. The grove is the center of their whole religion. It is regarded as the cradle of the race and the dwelling place of the supreme God, to whom all things are subject and obedient. Now, the reason I say that is because paganism is about nature. You had two separate worlds going on. You had, if you look up the etymology of the word borough, like a city, okay, you'll see that it gets its name from Proto-Indo-European and Aryan languages called the Berg, B-H-E-R-G, I believe that's how you spell it, okay? And it means that you are within the walls of protection that the king rules over. And the pagan didn't care about that. The pagan wanted to be out in wilderness, out within the groves. And so what you have, I think, is a lot of confusion about what it means to be pagan. And that's where some people who can teach certain elements of what our Norse ancestry believed in can separate that from nature. And I got a book here. It's The Druids. It's one of many that I have. And he says, I'm just going to read that real quick, okay? This is, again, talking about the Germanic world. And he says, about barbarian groves may have been inspired by the contrast between a rural continent world in which unclear woodland still dominated the landscape and the urban pattern of life, and what were by then the increasing open coastlands of the Mediterranean. In the Germanic world, as Kovner put it, the heart of the forest was the seat of the Godhead. So if paganism is all about, and that's why we took time in coming up with this series of our books, which is why every one of them is Northern paganism. And because you cannot separate the beliefs of our ancestors from the spirit of the forest and where these groves were, which is why I capitalized so much also on Mithgarth. The middle fence it is the Tega biome. Mithgarth is not the world. That comes from a universalism of our belief system, where it says, well, if Midgard is the world, Mithgarth is the world, then anybody can join. And that's not true. Mithgarth is the middle fence, which is the Tega biome. And this belief system only applies to our European ancestors. So it is very specific. It is Northern and it is pagan. So I think that's where a lot of people may be able to get followers, because they latch on to a universalist mindset that, well, we don't want to disclude anybody. So by being all inclusive, they can get more followers. I am not, I mean, granted, I would love to have hundreds of thousands and millions of followers on my channels, but I'm ethically, I want the truth.
Sure.
I had the wool pulled over once before, pulled over my eyes.
The paradigm shift can always come, and then, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the biggest thing, but it does very well and serves you, right? As long as you keep at it. I have an interesting response to my feelings about that, because I've been I often talk about it when I'm talking about the way I apply the mythos to my life, which is also how I apply it to when I am working with magic and things like that. That it is the way the universalists say it, where it's earth and very much just what's happening in the material world as it serves in that respect. I'm doing Jungian psychology stuff. I'm using the mythos as my vernacular language to connect with people that love me for doing it in this manner. But I love how multi-layered our mythology is, and I think that is perfect because of what it means on a geographical level, right? Just like Jormungandr is like the encroachment of the Roman Empire in many respects, as well as Jotunheim, which is in the east, and the borders of the Roman Empire are in the east. And so there's correspondences that then Midgard becomes right there and is deeply entrenched in our history, our cultural tradition, with real locations that bring that to life for everybody within that circle.
Right. And you can, that is, in my belief, the strength of our ancestral belief system over any of the Abrahamic religions that have been made to be literal, is a belief system that teaches strength, can apply that strength to any area of their life, and it can see darkness, it can see Loki deceptions, it can see the giant kin attacking from any different levels, and it teaches to confront those with. Well, in my death cult, heaven's a better place, so it's more able to be adapted to every area of what we deal with on a daily basis.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It's got all the life practicalities. A little bit of that broke up, so I think I'm able to respond to what you said properly. As the comparative between what their religions brought to table versus what we lost at ours.
Yeah, and the one person here, I don't know if I can put his thing up here. I don't know if I can do it or not. This comment is on guest destination. Okay. Well, this person here, Howard 88848. Okay. He put, but proto-paganism would be saying, screw the farm and fence, exist in nature itself. And I agree in part. You have to exist in nature, because I can throw out every book that I have on every religion and just look to nature and follow. And if I look at the cycles of nature, I can gather from that the strength that I need. The strong survive, the survival of the fittest, if you will, the using things at my disposal at hand so that I can live, and so that I can pass these successes on to my posterity.
Right.
But when you say to what is it? Screw the farm and fences. Okay.
Oh, hold on a second, Scott. You're frozen again.
Am I there? Am I back?
It sounds like you're back. I got to screw the farm and fences, and then you were going to finish that and respond to it.
Okay, so as far as existing in nature, I agree with Howard 8888. The thing of it is, if we're going to talk about ancestral paganism and what our ancestors and our kin taught us, then that is where the applicability of who they were teaching it to comes into play. And that is where I always fall back on is this what you take the worship, equivalent to we being heard now.
Oh, it's breaking up a bit gnarly. You know what? Maybe try cut your camera off so it's just your voice. If you could do that, that might free up enough for you to be clear. I hope.
I'm using a GoPro.
All right. Okay. We will hang on a second. I'm hoping if we can smooth this over, that'd be great. Otherwise, I may want to ask Scott if we want to do a follow-up in the near future, as like tomorrow or something, right? Let's see. I'm hopeful that we can get through this. Probably want to cut it short because I would anticipate that it's going to keep cutting out. And we all just want to make it work. Yeah. Because I was picking up, and it sounded like he was making the right and salient point that I would understand. So I'm very excited to get this answer for those of you on Scott's side of the equation. Howard is a good long fan of mine. So I'm delighted that he picked up on something he said in the chat room and wanted to be engaging with the audience. Okay, let's see. He's reconnecting now.
Yeah. Am I back?
You are back. I was proposing that if it keeps getting hiccupy, if you cut the camera off the audio, it might be good for the lag on your side.
Okay.
Yeah. We can
carry a
conversation like that, probably solid. Possibly.
Okay. Let me, you know what I'm going to try to do? Let me see if I can create a hotspot, and I'll put it right next to my computer. Just give me 1 second here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, for sure. All right. So we're going to let Scott work, and I'm gonna carry the channel for a minute. Hi everybody. So yeah, I've known Scott's work now for quite a few years, and I have a funny way of just feeling it out and knowing when I'm ready to take a conversation. And typically I don't need a hell of a lot of notes or anything else. Right now, of course, the disruption can make it hard to keep everything copacetic, right? Because then, like, I'm following a train of thought. I've held a question in my mind, but going through all the breakup process, I then have to maybe park that question off in the corner of my mind and help him troubleshoot or something like that. And hopefully I remember everything that was falling right into place as I was realizing to myself, hold on, I think I've got an unannounced theme that these questions are really leading to. So let me get to a certain point before I ask more further questions, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm talking, about like looking at all the little nuances in which the changes crept in what nature that they crept in, or what were the earliest conceptions or misconceptions that influenced outsiders like the Christians to come in and do such things. All right, Scotsman.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this. I got my mobile hotspot.
Okay,
so,
all right. Hopefully we're good.
Yeah, and I wanna be clear too, because even though I read the two things about the Germanic soul, that book that I just read from, it's about the Celtic belief system, and the groves were as intrinsic to their belief system. Clearings in the groves, which are, heaths. They're, in the book they point out that they're heaths, which they are. What a heath is a clearing in a wooded area, which is where they set up their sacred sites. So when we're talking about northern paganism, this is very much a folkish belief system that is in tune with nature and natural elements, cycles of the year, cycles of the cosmos. And I picked up a little bit about what you were saying there as I was trying to get my hotspot set up. So I didn't want to interrupt, but go ahead.
No, not at all. I was just talking a little bit to your audience, just building a little bit of rapport of where I'm coming from with you, and what's going through my head with my line of questionings. Excellent. Because were we still grinding out on the human sacrifice angle, or was there a following point?
I think we put that one to bed.
Yeah. I think we did. Shoot, where the heck were we at when you were answering Howard?
Talking
about proto paganism and being in the wild and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where were you going with that? And I'll jump in where I can.
Right. Yeah. So Howard had said, screw the farm and fence, exist in nature itself. And then you were kind of working off of that point with him, and there was so much breakup that I think that maybe like repeating what you were, your response to Howard on that, I think would be exactly where we need to be.
Sure. A pagan cannot exist in that belief system without nature. It is core to the fabric and fiber of what paganism is. And because our ancestors were from the north, then you cannot take me, who I've spent my whole entire life basically. You can, what does it say? You can take the boy out of the north. You can't take the north out of the boy. Okay. That applies here. That if you said, well, I'm going to start following the Hindu belief system. Well, I cannot relate to anything that they have in their belief system in India. I'm not from there. I don't know. Maybe I could read a book and see a picture and be able to formulate in my mind, but they could basically lead me down any road that they wanted to lead me down, because I don't know. If you take a person from Miami Beach who has never been outside of Florida and you try to explain to them snow, anything, the freezing of a lake and the sounds that it makes when it freezes and when it expands, and then in spring thaw, how it pings and pops and zings across it because it's breaking up. They can maybe see a picture, but they cannot relate to it. The pagan has got to be in nature. They've got to, the whole belief system is all about nature and nature's cycles. To separate that and maybe this, I don't know 100%. After I went to a Viking festival that I mentioned in one of my previous videos, after that one, I haven't really had anything more to do with that. Asatru, I pretty much had my finger on their pulse or lack thereof right from the very beginning about how they were creating a universalist mindset of anybody can be there. If you are only there for the LARPing, then I have to say, well, why are you really there? Are you just there to say hail Thor, hail Odin? Because you separate the very nature of who those beings are, the whole premise of their existence, by taking them out of nature, by saying, well, I live in a concrete jungle. I'm from the South. I've never been to the mountains, but I am a Norse pagan, or I am Asatru, hail Thor. And it's a brand new belief system that our ancestors would be scratching their head saying, I have no idea where you are.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's the question of how much people want to and how necessary it is to have that relationship with it, right? Because we see that there's two major splits in this whole Norse Germanic pagan world. We've got the eclectics and the reconstructionists, I believe is the two terms that I understand it. The reconstructionists is these people that we're just criticizing now, and then the eclectics, and then the reconstruction would be more along our lines. We're really trying to bring the tradition back to life instead of trying to amalgamate it into a modern thing.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a little bit of eclectic in me, but I really lean heavy on the traditional. But there's a method to my madness, and everybody sees it on me, and it works. I don't have to fucking brag. Yeah. It just works. That's how I know.
Now, and I see that Howard 8888 made another comment there, but it's not always easy to get out of the city. And I understand that, people have to work, people have to put food on the table. And that may mean that you have to be close to where your job is, but just understanding that the belief system, the whole lessons of our ancestors are tied to nature, I think is important, that the person who has to live in suburbia or in the urban sprawl of things, which, I mean, it's creeping up on all of us. I don't know if any of us are going to be truly rural at the rate that everything is expanding. I don't know if it's expanding where you are, but where I am currently, it's expanding rapidly. And so just understanding that, like Howard 8888 said, I do know, as long as you know, though, that it's tied to these nature rotations, it's tied to northern nature. And on that note too, I want to bring up something that, and it goes along the political lines, because we kind of went there a little bit more with who should be bog bodies and currently a certain list. I'm very cautious, because just a few miles, probably maybe 5 miles from our house, being tied to nature doesn't mean being duped by people who want to push green nonsense. Because a lot of the green nonsense destroys nature. And we had over 20 acres of an ecosystem where wildlife lived, and planet cooling trees were there. It was leveled to nothing so that they could put up solar panels as part of a green movement. Well, you just destroyed everything that is green to put up something that is not green. So
yeah. Which, by the way,
there
you
is
have to destroy the earth to get the mineral byproducts to put into the solar panels. So you also had to destroy somebody else's land just to destroy this land with your inadequate energy services.
yeah, yep. So there are people in politics that, I mean, they're pushing things on either side that I don't want people to think that because the belief system is tied to nature that you've got to fall for every political things that claims to defend nature, because a lot of them don't. A lot of them are nature destructive. If people want to put up solar panels, well, we have a lot of concrete jungles where those solar panels could go on the sides of buildings, on top of buildings and stuff like this. They don't need to destroy nature to try to be green. That's all a lobbyist thing there. And I just had to throw that out there. So anyway.
Yeah. No, for sure. We have to deal with this in our backyards in a pretty,
Yeah.
That's not even political. That's just seeing the worst way of trying to solve a problem. That's all we're saying. Yeah. Another thought that was running through my mind, because we're talking about the berg, which means city, but doesn't it also mean mountain?
Yes, spelled differently. Yes. There you have a berg, and then you have a berg. But it is there's just a difference. There's a difference in not only spelling but also in context. And that is important, because BHERG from the Proto-Indo-European comes from burrow. The berg of a mountain. I think it's I can't remember if it's an ET. The berg is the mountain, or is the berg is Berget. I think it might be Bergen. I can't remember, but it's there are two separate words. It's like saying there and there in English. It's they mean two totally different things. So so I don't know if that answers your question.
Right. Well, it's the pun game. It's they sound the same, they're spelled differently, and Loki can screw with your head when that happens.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it's just like when a lot of people say that Odin hung on a windy tree. Well, that sounds very Abrahamic. That Odin hung on a windy tree. But once you realize the cosmology of it and how the stars move, the spirit that is Odin, the Und that is Odin, that is the valiant spirit that gets reborn into the young every spring. It's that, and it comes from that cosmic bear. It doesn't come from the cosmic bear. It's depicted in that cosmic bear. That bear is winding upon the tree, the cosmic tree, which in one of my recent videos I pointed out that Yggdrasil is the yew tree, and that is our world tree. And Odin hung on the winding tree. It's cyclical, comes back around each time for rebirth of the valiancy. So a lot of that is just, it's a play on words, and it's easily corrected. It's once you understand the cycles of things.
Yeah. It is, and it's I mean, like in different kinds of cosmologies, mythologies, it's there's not the great tree Yggdrasil. There's a holy mountain that is in this place, right? Like Mount Meru.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people think that there's a literal Mount Meru that's hidden in the North Pole that might be becoming visible because it's thawing out or something. And that's the stump of a tree that was one of the great ancient trees that used to be all over the place up here back in the day.
Yep.
And so then that's Mount Meru, this magnetic mountain that's on all the old maps that they now say doesn't exist at all for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's that's the king of the mountain right there, making Odin the king of the mountain.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it's funny that you mentioned about how these trees that were once there. I read it was from 1600s, late 1600s, book through the National Archives on the Adirondack Mountains, that when the Adirondack Mountains that we see today, with the vast wilderness that is there, a lot of the nation's parks can all fit inside the Adirondack Mountains. That's how big it is. It's what they call a virgin forest. That the stumps that they were finding at the time were as big as the redwood forest out west, that we have out west. And these trees were 12 feet in diameter. They were massive. So when we see these old oak trees of today that are 3, 4, 5 feet across, maybe those were babies in the grand scheme of things. When you look at the old forests.
Dude, like history of New England, 90% of the forestry here is new growth, because there was a time in the colonial period where they cut down all the trees on all the rolling hills and little, like, I guess, little mini mountains or whatever, and they had a sheep economy, and there were sheep pastures all over the place, and that's why when you go taking a walk through any forest growth area in New England, there's just this stoneworking, like just this wall. It's like a 3-foot wall of stone, just like that, like no more, just stones, and that was enough for sheep. Sheep couldn't get over that, right? And that's what it was all for. And there's a lot of big friggin' trees. These big trees are part of new effing growth, right? And this gets into all sorts of who cut down the trees conspiracies, goes into Tartarian rabbit holes that I partially there's some things within the Tartaria that are true, but Tartaria overall is not the right thing for it.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember seeing those big walls, those not big walls, the rock walls that seem to just go on forever, and that was the farmlands. They're in the Adirondack Mountains as well, up where I've been. It's just the land has started to recover from all the clearing efforts of early colonial America, and they had to cut down all of those big ancient trees to make their farmland, and then put up their stone walls. And now it's virgin growth now. So, yeah.
Indeed. I just want to let you know that since you set up this new whatever, it's been like perfect long enough for me to just let you know that I think you solved the problem.
Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, I brought my cell phone in and created a hotspot. I think what I'm going to have to do is try to, maybe if we do these in the future, hardwire my computer directly to the internet. That may stop.
Yeah, for sure. Work out your troubleshootings, and thank you for rolling with this. I didn't mean to put you in a weird, I don't know what I'm doing spot.
Yeah. No, well, I don't. I hate electronics. I really, really do. I try to know enough about them to get by, but I would love to just say, you know what, I'm going to sweep them all off into the garbage can, and I'm just going to go out. Yeah.
It's just like I don't need my car to be a big computer. I just need, give me a computer freaking entertainment dashboard, and that's all I need. That's everything else needs to be analog for me. That's all I care. I don't need a chip between me and my engine. But anyway, enough about the encroachment of technology. So I think that I've really covered all of the most pertinent questions to think of, like because you told us like you went into school to do what were you going into with the school study again? Is it going to have a good does it have is that going to have anything that's going to reflect on your work with the books and the channel?
Well, I don't know about a direct impact on the books. What I would like to do is I'm going for criminal justice, and I'm almost complete with the program. What I would like to do is take my degree and invest myself into actual clean water, clean air initiatives, and that's with hands-on efforts as well as maybe an enforcement aspect to it. So if there's a lot of problems that we have in humanity today that our ancestors didn't have to deal with. If you look up origins of cancer and when cancer really became prominent right after the Industrial Revolution. Before the Industrial Revolution, cancer was pretty much non-existent. They think they found the very first diagnosis of cancer was in a person in Egypt, a male, but he was found buried with a bunch of cooking utensils. So, but that was the only one they had from pagan times. Other than that, it wasn't until the American Revolution that cancer really leapt onto the scene. So I think that if we can, as pagans especially, lead an attack on giving our posterity something better than what was given to us, then and start cleaning the act up of the destruction that was done, and a lot of it was driven by money and greed, and so it's, I mean, you're up there, I'm sure you've heard the stories about the PCBs dumped by a certain electrical company into the Hudson River, and so it completely destroyed the ecosystem of the Hudson River for decades upon decades. So that's where I want to kind of try to focus my efforts, is go back into something, apply it to something that is truly pagan, something that is that will benefit not only myself while I'm doing it, but also benefit my children and my children's children. And
that's a great cause. You play the cards right, whatever competition you need to do to make the impact in the game, right? There's probably going to be that kind of fight going on in that field. So my hat's off to you. It's an important function of dealing with course corrections. I'd say the ultimate prize is to stop the aerosol injection system, the what we know as chemtrails.
Okay.
Yeah, the aerosol injection system. That's not the exact full name of it, but that's the most technical term for just what you're seeing of an airliner that is spraying the skies. Right. And then, is it chemicals? Well, we don't know what it is, but that's the most accurate term for it. Yeah.
And now, I don't know if you know anything about cloud seeding, SEEDING, cloud seeding. That's another thing. And I see a lot of the climate change enthusiasts jumping on the bandwagon of, well, look at what happened in the United States with all these big storms that hit like North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee and all that kind of stuff. That's all indicative of global warming taking place. Well, the chemicals that man is injecting into the atmosphere to try to control weather they don't go away. They stay a permanent part of. So of the atmosphere. So these silver nitrates and everything, they are getting, you get these superstorms, they get re-evaporated up into the atmosphere to create another superstorm. So it's a never-ending process, and if the more that gets injected, it continues to compound itself, and we are creating our own worst nightmare by trying to control something that we shouldn't be in control of, and that is Mother Nature, the weather.
Yeah. It's also the counterintuitiveness of the whole thing, because like you're getting into the territory of the backstory of the Matrix, where mankind tried to destroy the machines because they were all solar powered, so they blotted out the sun, thinking it would just shut down the machines, but instead they just turned humans into batteries. Yeah. So they're they it's quite insane what they are doing, and they probably think they got their weather system down to where they can guarantee themselves they can just live over here, and they'll never direct a jet stream in the wrong direction to bring them anything more than enough rain for their crops.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This whole scenario. Because
I think what we need to do,
controlling the weather, right? Those are all things that would have to be brought up, right? It's just like, yeah, you're gonna need a weather god if you're gonna fight the weather anti-gods, aren't we?
Yeah. And I think as modern pagans trying to live at one with nature, in like our ancestors did, I think because of what was done because of Abraham and the Abrahamic cults, I think that makes it, and with greed as the backdrop of that, everything revolves around more money, at the cost of nature, at the cost of human lives, at the cost of the animal kingdom, and so much was destroyed. I think the modern pagan we need to fight back, and I think one of the ways that we need to do this is we need to place ourselves in positions of power. In the Poetic Edda, Odin says, I can't give you the exact stanza. Odin says that you need to approach everything from a position of strength. And if we're going to undo some of the damage or try to at least minimize it, I think we need to have people who are far younger than I am get involved, set themselves up via education, because unfortunately the world recognizes that piece of paper that's on the wall as giving you credence and a voice in something. And that one doctor who translates the Old Norse that you were talking about earlier gets a lot of his credibility from those pieces of paper hanging on the wall. But I think we need to start putting people in who then can have a voice and change the direction of things. And I think that's going to be the challenge of the valiancy that I pass on to my children and my children's children, is put yourself into those positions where you can have a voice, where you can have an influence and help the pagan naturally, so that every pagan isn't looking through a book saying, oh, that's what a forest looked like without massive amounts of acid rain. Maybe that's one thing that I could inspire in people is to start putting yourself into those positions of power, so we can attack everything from a position of strength, not be groveling for, hey, we can have Thor's hammer on the tombstones now of our military. Well, okay, that's a nice addition, but I want more. I want to be at the head of the table, So not me personally, but I'm just. Yeah.
Are you seeing, or maybe I'm just looking at bad information about things? I've always been looking at the whole bit, and I'm pretty sure it's still accurate on point, the migration of magnetic north, because magnetic north has been moving to Siberia slowly ever since we started tracking it in reality. And so we've got the weather manipulation, but I don't think the moving of magnetic north, which I believe is affecting what normal climate is going to be, kind of like, because you've kind of got like, you know, the climate is like, if this is the earth, my fist, then this is like the climate. So like if this is like the North Pole, and then magnetic north moves to, you know what I mean, right? And so Jesus would follow that.
And I mean, if the movement of magnetic north has any impact, I don't think it's going to be in our lifetime. It's going to be gradual enough where if I'm hoping that our ancestors will not control it, but be able to at least recognize it and be able to, see where it's going. I don't know what that would really change to a great degree. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, like it just like for me in the Northeast, for instance, right? It has honestly felt like the winter is like we don't get like a bunch of like snow like throughout the winter anymore. We get like snow for the most part, like really kicking off somewhere mid-January, late January is when we really start seeing snow. And then you just get a handful of snowstorms that are all like kind of like together after this period up until like March, right? And it can just be really bad and then over, and then it's just cold, right? It's just really, really cold, and it's somewhere in the 20s, maybe drops down to the single digits, rarely goes negative. But it feels like, because I remember growing up in the 80s and 90s, and it felt like there was almost always snow from like, mid-December, like until like February.
Yeah, it would snow for a weekend. You get 3 feet. Yeah,
so that's what I mean.
I think that was
into a slightly more tropicalized zone here because of the magnetic movement and not because of the fuckery.
It could be. I mean, the only thing I've really seen on that myself is that time frame, that mid 80s time frame right through there was pretty much the end of a mini ice age, if you will. So that's why it saw so much. There was so much snow, and I mean, you could walk off a rooftop right onto a snowbank, for crying out loud. There was so much snow. So I don't know if I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination. So for me to pontificate,
Okay. Well, when I'm just saying, you're going down the line doing your work in the justice of it all. So that's just something I throw out there because I think it's it's definitely an X factor that they were never talking about during the entire carbon tax argument and every other manner of the environmentalism argument. So so Scott, I think is a great place to call the show for the evening. If you feel strongly about doing this again in the near future, something smoother, something more focused, we can set that up when you're ready. So otherwise, give everybody that send off on where to pick up your books, the channel, and paying attention to everything else. Links are in the description below too.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever I post a video, I do put a link on there to our books through Amazon. They're available through Amazon, and I will, like I said, when we come out with the other one, that will also be in that grouping. This one here, this conversation was a little all over the map, but I kind of expected that because it has been quite some time since we've spoken, and since like you said, I've been sitting out for a little while and get back into it. But
I'd always
maybe next time
to reconnect, get a little bit more out, and I need to like save a little bit of money and pick up another one of your books or something and have and have a more focused conversation. But I wanted to make sure people saw that you were back on the map because I'm such a huge fan of what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. So, okay, then we'll end it right there. And I think
Right.
When I hit this end stream button, I think my bear is going to go off. So I'll make sure we're
All
both
right.
ready to rock and roll here.
Yeah. Till that's the gun.
Okay, all right. I will talk to you soon, and let's stay in touch to set up another one. And
Yes, sir.
maybe when we're doing the next one, we'll answer some extra questions. Howard 8888 got a lot of our attention tonight.
Yeah. Howard's quite a chat box on my side. He's a good dude.
Yeah, good.
All righty.
So, all right, man. I'll talk to you later. All right.